All right, everyone. Welcome to the show that shall not be named. Today's prompt is demon, and I've been doing, this is the second in the series of 3 drawings where I'm doing kind of a combination of multiple ideas, a hybrid design, or hybrid concept, I don't know what to call it. The first one was angel, and I combined that with the idea of a forest spirit. This one's demon, and so I figured I'd kind of do the opposite, combine the demon with a oil refinery. Seemed like the opposite of a forest spirit, I guess. But yeah, so I decided to make the demon kind of look like an evil tardigrade or something. But I think he's kind of cool. And I made him really lumpy. Lots of contour lines here. And there I'm just lining in some, like a hill for him to be standing on. I gave him those little nubby horns, but they're supposed to be horns. They kind of look like ears, but I don't know. They're horns, I assure you. And then, yeah, I'm lining in the oil tanks and the refining tower and all that kind of stuff here. I did this whole thing in isometric perspective. I really like drawing in isometric perspective. It's a kind of where you create depth by going vertically up the page. So something at the bottom of the page, you know, linear perspective will have foreshortening. Isometric doesn't have any foreshortening. So something at the bottom of the page will be the same size as something at the top of the page. And yeah, I'm lining out some smog coming out of the smokestacks there. Wanted it to look really swirly and, you know, smoky. And yeah, here I'm starting on the shading. Going real dark inside of his mouth to make those crazy teeth pop out. You always want to make sure if you're drawing a monster, I mean, you don't have to. It's not a, you know, a rule, but you want to make sure that if you want him to, his teeth to look like gnarly and creepy, that they're all uneven and different sizes and, you know, pointing in slightly different directions and stuff like that. And another trick you can do is where you make their eyes hollow like that and then shade real dark around them. It almost looks like, you know, when you take like a photo of like a wolf in the middle of the night and its eyes are glowing or something. One of those nice little spooky effects. Yeah, I went nuts on the line shading on this guy's body. I wanted him to look almost like he was just made out of a giant lump of coal or something. Doing all sorts of contour shading around all of his little fat rolls. Or his lumps, his coal lumps. I made sure to make the legs really, the 2 legs in the background more darker than the ones in the foreground to push them back. Just trying to get as much depth as I can with just line shading. Here I'm just going through and putting all kinds of texture in the ground. I left a kind of a highlight edge along the back there. So I think the light would be hitting it from behind him. I was originally planning on putting a drop shadow underneath there, but after getting all the texture shading in there, it didn't seem like it was really necessary. Adding some shading behind his little nubby horns to make them pop out. And those spheres, I think, are the oil tanks. I don't really know. I looked at a picture of an oil refinery before I did this. I don't really know what anything does, or what all the parts are or anything like that. So I'm assuming the spheres are the tanks, and then the big tower is the refinery part. And there's just tubes going everywhere. Here I'm cruising through and giving him all sorts of little lumpy textures on his back. I think originally I was planning on leaving a big highlight down his side, and as I was going along, it wasn't looking exactly how I wanted it to, so I just kept pushing that line shading down a little bit by bit until I got it to where I liked the way it looked. The contour shading got a little crazy through here. I was kind of adding lumps, and then it wasn't like lining up with the existing shading that I had already done. I think I made it work just fine. After all, he is supposed to be a big wad of coal or something. And then, I started cruising through here, trying to, do some dark spots, add a little bit of depth. Here I'm doing some contour shading on one of the smokestacks, adding like little lines to represent like little tubes and stuff like that, where, just where I felt like they should go. More contour shading. I like to add the little transparent, like I'm imagining that the smoke is transparent and you can see the edge of the smokestack through it, but just little bits of it, like it's just barely showing through. And giving that big tower some shape there, adding more tubes, little gibbets? No, that's crocks. Greeblies. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. Had little greeblies on, like that. And some more contour shading here. I was being a little extra careful to keep everything in perspective this time. Another little back edge of that tube. And then I come through, bulk up some of the outlining just to give it a little more punch. This is kind of around the areas where there's, you know, an edge that's not going to be meeting up with anything else. A peripheral line, I guess. I added a little more detail in the smog cloud here. I was trying to make it look kind of trippy and weird. I decided to do the hatching in the sky first before I shaded in the smoke, so that so that I wouldn't mess up the contrast, right? I think it worked really well doing it that way. Yeah, I'm just doing some hatching and then a little bit of stippling around the bottom edge there. And then to finish off the smoke, I just decided to add a bunch of contour lining. A little billowy, I don't know what to call them, like just little curly lines everywhere. Get those like kind of smoky, billowy looking shapes. I didn't want to fill it in very much, just to keep that nice contrast between it and the background, right? Lots of little curly lines. I like to end if a line ends, I don't like to just leave it as a, you know, a bare tip there. I like to kind of add like a little dot at the end so it's not just kind of hanging out, unless it's a smaller one. But yeah, then I just finished that up, and that's pretty much the end of the drawing. Yeah. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Leave me a comment, hit that like button, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Thank you to my patrons on Patreon. If you're interested in any of that, there's a link in the description, and I will see you in the next one. All right, bye.